My name is Don Montgomery. I am a local realtor in Central Florida, and I want to thank you for taking a moment and watching this video. Today we're going to be discussing gated communities, and we're going to look at a lot of different things about living in a gated community or potentially buying or even selling your property. We're going to talk about the benefits, and then also where there's a little bit of the drawbacks. So let's be positive and let's discuss the benefits. The first thing that I think of when I think of a gated community, and maybe very specific, is I'm talking about an actual guard gated community. Whereas there's going to be a man or a woman there, obviously checking in drivers and of course traffic. Now there are another kind of community, we've all seen those most likely, where it's just an actual gate unmanned, and the homeowner usually has some type of card that they can swipe, or at the same time they maybe have some type of a key code and something to that standpoint. The negative on those, I think what we've all witnessed, is that when they are open, when someone is actually supposed to be there, maybe an actual resident, then a lot of times other commuters will be going that also want to go in there. They'll just sit on the side and wait for that person, and while that gate's open, they all go and slide in as well. So in reality, how effective is that gated community? Well, it's a deterrent, but at the same time, it's not extremely as effective as, say, having a guard-gated community. So that's one of the things that we're going to talk about right now. All right, so when we're talking about having that actual guard out there, again, one of the benefits is everyone that comes into that community has a purpose. They have a reason and they're authorized to be there. Could be another resident, of course, that's someone that actually lives there, and at the same time could be someone visiting another resident that lives in that community as well. So these are all things that are beneficial. Also, contractors that come in, landscapers, other things, they actually have to be checked in as well. So that's very powerful, and again, I think it's a strong benefit. That way, because especially if it's a luxury community, you know, a bunch of $1 million homes, very large homes, a lot of people want to just drive by, look at the Christmas lights during the Christmas time season, also maybe dream build about how they too could actually live in that kind of community. All positive things, but at the same time, there could be a bad element. Someone that is not having the most positive effect and not wanting, and maybe wanting to do some crime. All license numbers are tagged and recorded. Now, predominantly, we will see that when a car comes in to a gated community, there'll be a camera that will be pointed towards the entrance of the actual community. The reason is that camera is now recording the license tag of every car that comes in. So that's a very positive thing. And again, any educated or even untrained criminal, they don't want to have that kind of evidence against them. So, and again, I think it's a very strong deterrent against any type of crime, because again, everyone is registered, everyone is tagged, and of course recorded when they come into that community. So that's a very powerful and positive thing. Another thing that's very powerful here is that it obviously is wonderful for kids to play in the street or out in the community and really have a feeling of safety within the residents, because again, not a lot of traffic going through, definitely not a lot of speeders, because again, it is such a close-knit community, which obviously brings up another benefit. I believe a lot of times in gated communities, neighbors become more social. They actually have more socials as well, where the communities are invited out to get to know one another. People start to actually interact with one another, having parties, other different things. So we've seen that within a gated community, and again, the residents become closer friends and of course have a better relationship and amongst one another as well. So because again, traditionally a gated community, not a lot of properties within them. Obviously there are some exceptions, like such as Heathrow and other areas where have larger amounts of people in them, but for the most part, usually about 200 to maybe 300 homes is on about the average. And let's see here. Also, peace of mind, so that when residents, again, in the evening are walking around and they're actually enjoying a nice evening walk, especially here in Central Florida, that's always actually a nice night. Predominantly pretty much every night is like that. And then, but it gives them that peace of mind that while they're walking around, that, you know what, they're safe. They have, and again, as I revisit, everyone that is in that community is supposed to be there. And everyone that has been recorded that came in, and it just gives them, again, that nice happiness of, hey, you know what, I feel safe because there's obviously someone looking out for us in the front of the gate. So that is something that is very nice as well. And again, kids can ride their bikes a little bit further down the street potentially, that parents may feel a little bit more safe with that as well. So those are some of the benefits that are actually out there when you're buying into a gated community. Let's talk about some of the holdbacks of actually living in one. Difficulty for your visitors to come in. So a lot of times when you want to have that visitor come in, they've got to register, or you have to call up in front to that guard gate and say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. XYZ, a pass. Make sure that they can get in. I'd like to see them. Again, the benefit was they have a purpose to be there, but secondly is it's more time consumption on your part because you have to clarify with that guard that they have the ability and approval by you to come in. That also applies for your contractors. So if you're having landscaping, maybe you're having some pipe plumbing issues or anything like that, you have some handyman work or upgrading some areas of your house, you have to give that contractor permission to come in. So that's one of the things that, again, not a big deal, but at the same time, it is time consuming. A lot of times you may forget to contact that guard and let them know, and therefore then they have to pick up the phone, call you. A little frustrating for your guest. So just keep that in mind, and that is something that's going to be an ongoing everyday scenario, especially if you do a lot of entertaining. A lot of people don't know this when they buy into a gated community. The roads past the actual gate themselves are now no longer covered by the local government or the local municipality. So whereas an average community without a gate, rather, those roads are covered by the city or by even the county. They need paved, they need to be upgraded, they need to, whatever it may be, they are covered by the taxpayer in the local municipality. Whereas in a gated community, those are not accessible to the public, so therefore they are not covered. So if they start cracking, potholes, whatever it may be, they are not covered if they need to be sealed. That is then going to be an assessment amongst all the community in that gated community. So that's going to be sometimes a lot kind of expensive, and it could actually hit some folks a little hard. I've actually been part of a gated community up in Lake Mary where we got hit with an assessment for our roads, and it was almost $10,000, quite a bit. I do live in a gated community now, which I do like, but at the same time, we're always looking out for those assessments for the gate, for the actual roads. It could be it could be a lot of different things that are in there. And that will bring me up to my last area, which is you have to be approved by the HOA when you move in. So there will be a criminal background check, not to say that you're going to have an issue, but again, keep in mind if that does apply to maybe someone within the household, could be a lot of different things. There's going to be a criminal background check. There's going to be obviously a little bit of a check on there. The HOA will also charge a fee for that to get into that particular property. When you actually move in, now some communities, obviously more luxury communities, have a very expensive transfer fee from the current owner to the potential new owner. That also could get very expensive. So when you're going in and actually picking out a gated community, put that part of your actual offer that seller, they pay the transfer fee. Could be $500, could be over $1,000 in some communities. So keep that in mind, because that could be a very important part. And in most sellers, they'll pick it up. So that is something that in my clients that I'm representing as a buyer, or even when I'm going to sell, but as a buyer agent, I will go ahead and actually ask for that up front. The reason is, it's obviously something that doesn't look at as very large, especially if we're talking about a larger scale home. They're like, hey, you know what, there's no big deal. Less money out of your pocket. And then also, let's talk about the HOA fees themselves. They will go up because of that salary of those guards must be covered. Also, the mechanism itself, the machine that raises the bar, where it may be, or the gate to go up and down or open and close, also has to be covered. Those things get very expensive. And those machines, obviously working night and day, repetitively over and over, do wear out. And obviously there is a gated community, a gated contractor usually that was hired to service, keep those parts, keep those machines well oiled so that they work and function on a regular basis. So all of those have different expenses. And a lot of times you'll see within gated communities, you'll also see that they have pools, different common areas. All of that also attracts higher HOA fees because they have to be kept up, they have to be maintained, and of course pools have to be kept clean, on and on and on. So keep that in mind, that sometimes you'll see these HOA fees go up to $400, even to $700 a month. And these are not townhomes where the exterior is covered. These are regular homes. I know within Reunion, where we've done some transactions up in the Kissimmee area, beautiful homes, $1 million, but the HOA fees in some of those areas, over $700 a month. That's pretty expensive but again, what you are getting there is obviously incredible. So, again, that's something that you have to monitor and look at. Keep that in mind, as far as the budget is a challenge there, or at least an understanding. Everyone wants to know that. Also, one other thing, like in Reunion and gated communities, some have signature golf courses, signature spas, whatever it may be. A lot of times there are an upfront royalty fee. So like in Reunion, Arnold Palmer, who designed those courses, his foundation or his estate gets a 3% fee off of every sale. That's over and above the sales price of the property. So if you're buying $1 million home, there is a 3% fee on top of that, which will be $30,000, that you must pay over and above the price of the home that goes to Arnold Palmer's estate in this case. So keep that in mind too, that when you are going into very nice communities, you want to ask, is there any type of royalty fee that I have to pay as well? Being aware of all the fees is incredibly important. Now, real quickly, for those of you that are selling your properties in those gated communities, these are also, just on the opposite side, we obviously look at how to turn those negatives that I was just talking about into benefits. So obviously that is something that if you're interested in doing, please reach out to me and I'll be happy to cover those more in depth. So I hope that this has been a beneficial video for you, and I will have more and come out to you. Subscribe, as well as put your information in, and obviously we will contact you, myself and my team, and we will get with you as soon as possible, right away actually, to help you answer any questions that you may have. And then of course, if you are looking to buy and sell, definitely set you up and get that started for you as well. Listen, again, my name is Don Montgomery. I'm with Coldwell Banker. I thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. And obviously, if you have any additional questions, I look forward to answering those. Please reach out to us. Thank you so much.